Hello, wonderful humans. Thank you for tuning in to the Triple L Network. And if you could take 7 seconds out of your day and do me a big favor, jump over to the Shopify App Store. We just launched our Founders Dash, and we would love a review from you. Thanks so much for being so awesome. Enjoy the show.
Consolidation over everything. Before, at some point, we used to go product-based split, but now we just went, the different steps of the funnel. And then when you're really getting into December, I really would preach the most important part being refresh your creative, refresh your account, give the people something new, because they're honestly tired of seeing the same old thing.
All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of your favorite D2C podcast, Adspend. What else? We got a scorcher for us. This is some really fun offline prep work that I've been doing for this. We got Avi Arora, lead of growth at Italic, formerly of Cuts, on the mic for us today, friends of Ash, and I'm really excited to get into it. Avi, how are you?
I'm doing good, guys. I'm excited to be here. It's my first podcast, so I think this is gonna be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, let's strap in. And then, as always, I have the co-host of Adspend, my partner in crime, best looking Indian out there, Ashvin Melwani. Ash, how are you doing? How's the Walmart stuff going? You got some cost cap updates for us as well, I hear.
Yeah, well, life's good, man. We a little bit about Walmart. We started showing up on the shelves like a week early, and we had no idea until like somebody in our community was just shopping, was like, hey, like I just spotted it, and we're like, wait, this wasn't supposed to actually come out till like the end of this, like it was supposed to launch this week, so we were kind of scrambling, make sure that our marketing efforts were in place, but we literally got word back from them saying like, hey, we're like slowly rolling it out. We're only in maybe 10% of the stores right now, but like the initial projections are like really good so far, so super excited to see what happens when we're rolled out nationwide. But it's as big as Walmart is, it's one of those things where it's like you can be as organized as possible up until the minute, and then it's just like whatever happens. So we're at that point where it's like the balls will land where they land, and that's it. So
the Mike Tyson, everybody has a battle plan, and so you get punched in the face. I love it, man. It's I've been following along, and it has been super, super cool to see. So I fell down a little bit of an Instagram hole, and I actually got some sort of business interesting stuff out of it. There's this guy of we were kind of talking a little bit offline, but Willy Wacky Snacks. It's willywacky.com, and it's great. So like basically the hook, I watched like 10 of these, and it was crazy. The guy's literally in his warehouse. So for people that don't know, Willy Wack basically just sells these crazy exotic like Snickers, Doritos, et cetera, these really weird flavors like from Thailand, or not weird, but exotic flavors from all over the world. And he literally has people just comment, will you pack my order? And he packs the order on screen. And I was just blown away by it. And now I'll probably end up going to buy some stuff. And this was 0% paid. It was all just a guy doing a really simple thing. What's your take there, Ash? Are you going to start packing Avi orders? What's going on here?
I'd like to, man. I mean, it's one of those things where like those videos that go viral and people just kind of like answer the comments, and it just continues this like virality, right? And I think TikTok's algorithm does a really good job at just naturally retargeting the viewers of like other people's videos.
100%.
So like, for example, there's like, I see this all the time where somebody like, especially I guess recipe bloggers or whatever it is, they'll like drop the finished result of say like a pizza dough or a pizza, whatever it is, and it's like I'll drop the recipe like next week or whatever, right? I don't necessarily follow this person. I'll probably like it, but then like TikTok does a really good job at putting that follow-up video back on my For You page when it's launched. So I think there's a lot to be said about like you should always be interacting with the comments that come in on your page, because it starts hitting the same people, and organically if you start increasing that frequency in which like people are just seeing your brand, I think it can do really like it can do wonders for sales, right? Like just like you said, like the fact that you're just seeing it constantly now, it's like, well, cool, maybe I'll just buy something and see what all the hype is. But I really think this type of strategy, especially with like answering comments with videos, is like brands should be doing this nonstop, and like it just or the organic strategy that people need to focus on, like this is just a part of it, and it's such an easy thing to just like pick up and start doing.
Yeah, and Avi, I want to get your input here, but I couldn't agree more, and I also think there's a little bit of a meta level to this as well, of like, you don't, like, these aren't high production value videos. This guy's literally has a little bitty lav mic, and he's just a fun, affable guy, and it also, in my opinion, aligns with kind of the term I'm going to steal from you, is the congruity, like the cohesiveness of it is so fun, because it's essentially the same format over and over, but everybody's order is different, and all these things that he has to choose from in terms of items are so quirky and random. Like there's like Thai shrimp Doritos, there's beef tartare or Lay's, there, butterscotch Kit Kats, and so it makes it feel fresh, even though it's the same format. So I don't know, I just love seeing entrepreneurs kind of hack the system in a way where they don't have to grow off of paid purely, and they build this foundation of evangelists. But Avi, what's your take on it?
No, it's super interesting. I've seen this guy on TikTok a few times in the past, and kind of my look at it was the virality comes from replying to comments. Customer engagement, it's one of the most important things out there. But as you were mentioning, the products on there are so unique that it's going to get somebody's attention.
Yeah.
Steak tartare chips, I've never heard of that in my life. I kind of want to try it.
Yeah, I know.
And it, more than anything else, he has so many products on his website. If you go on his website, there's hundreds and hundreds of products on there that you've probably never heard of in your life. But because of how many orders he's getting, some product is going to show up at some point, and it gets people excited about that product that they've never heard of otherwise. And I think the combination of both those things is, one, bringing that audience back. So the people who already like it, Ash, like you were mentioning, when they reply to comments, when they like posts, when they just show up on people's feeds, they'll keep seeing it that way, and it'll entice them to buy eventually. You're going to see something you like enough to go buy. I know I have. And then the other side is, it just gets you exposed to these new things that you've literally never heard of. And for those that, maybe they didn't find it so interesting before, maybe they see, a flavor they like or something like that, that drives them to the website. So I think the combination of both those things has really helped him gain its virality. And then, it's just super organic. People eat that up. Like, it just seems it's a small business. He's building it out of his garage, it looks like.
Hello, beautiful people. Thank you for tuning into the Triple L Network. This is brought to you by the Founders Dash, our new forever free plan. You can get all of the awesomeness or most of the awesomeness of Triple L. So you're going to get a 12-month look back. You're going to get net profit. You're going to get access to the iOS and Android apps, so you can have all your metrics in real time anywhere you want. All you got to do is go to triplel.com/founders dash and install the app today and get ready to ride the lightning. Enjoy the show. No notes. Couldn't agree with you more. Ash, I want to talk to you about spending at scale. Both of you guys have spent a whole bunch of money getting almost to, just really high daily spends. How do you do that? So we've talked a lot about kind of like the smaller ad accounts. So normally you're either constrained by capital or efficiency, right? Like, hey, Ash, you can spend $100,000 this month, no matter how good or bad the ads are. That's as much as you can spend. Or, hey, Ash, I need you to hit X MER or whatever that KPI is, and you can keep spending into oblivion from that. When you have that and you're starting, do you guys, in Avi, I know you spent a ton of money over at Cuts, and you guys are spending up a lot of ad spend over at Italic. Just kind of take me through that thought process of it's I think a bit different, because you just have different problems. So Ash, tell me, when you're scaling your ad account, you start to get to these really big spends. How are you thinking about creative? How are you thinking about deployment of capital, campaign architecture? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think when we were spending a ton, right? And a ton for us really was like 20 to 30K a day.
Yeah.
I feel like after 30K is when we really just couldn't keep efficiency. And so when we were spending those, I think the account strategy has always been like a very consolidated approach, right? So literally one campaign, one ad set, broad, like a CBO, and literally all of our winning ads in there, right? And as we were kind of leaning into how performance was going. If we had like a really solid 7 days, cool, the next following 7, can I bump up budgets accordingly, right? And so typically these times were in Q1 and Q4. And so it was very easy to ramp up spend, say, I'll give you an example, last December, right? I think everybody was starting to see the same where like post Black Friday, pre-Christmas, if you're not like a gift giving type of product, which we weren't, we saw like a very dead period up until literally the day after Christmas is when things started to pick back up. And so you start to see that and you start to lean into that. And that's where, again, keeping things very consolidated and just testing, I'll talk about testing after, but keeping things consolidated. And when you do find that conversion rates start to lift, let's start to push a little bit more on the budget, right? So that's literally, I would bump my budgets like 19%, right? I don't want to trigger learning at 20, but 19% every day. And we went from like 5K a day back up to like 20, 25K a day in the month of January. And it was easy because efficiency was holding, because that's our time. Yeah. That's our like health and wellness period, you know, new year, new you type of thing. And so that's where I would lean into, you know, am I being efficient? Great. The other side to that is at that same time when you're pushing up, yes, you have to be testing creatives. And again, I'm going to touch that in a second. But CRO here is so important because if you can make those like 10 to 20% swings in your favor, when you do bump up ad spend, obviously efficiency is going to come down a little bit, but can you arbitrage that and say, am I getting a little bit more efficiency on my conversion rate more than my drop in efficiency on paid? And so that's like this constant battle between increasing ad spend and like increasing your conversion rate or AOV on the landing page. And then the second part is testing creatives, right? I used to preach like, oh, we used to test like 40 to 50 creatives a week. I'm starting to think like, or not starting to think, but I'm moving away more to quality over quantity. And so the way that we're kind of doing it is anywhere from maybe 6 to 10 creatives a week, because I know out of that 6 to 10, like maybe 2 or 3 are going to be like rock stars, and those rock stars will last me a couple weeks, right? So if I can churn those out weekly, then I'm golden and I'm happy. But yeah, I think it was very, very simple, consolidated structure, one campaign, one ad set for scaling, and one campaign, one ad set for testing, and just graduating where we could. And then I think also moving in and leaning into ASE probably was, I guess it was more Q2 where like ASE was gaining a little bit more traction, but that's when I was kind of like leaning back from scaling as well, because like we're now hitting Q2 and then Q3 being summer. So that's the way that I look at it. Avi, I mean, you guys were spending way more than I was, so would love to hear how you guys pretty much handled everything.
Yeah, I'll start with the account like structure part. I didn't talk about creative testing a ton, and I'll talk about it in terms of December specifically. But early last year, like midway through last year, I want to say, and especially early this year is when we realized like we needed to make a big shift in our account strategy. And before, like I'll say transparent, like our account structure was a mess. It was very hard for me to understand our own account structure sometimes. And that was because we were going based on, we had a ton of different product lines. We had, pants, shirts, outerwear, and it made it really complex, not just for like from a system standpoint, from in-platform and preaching consolidation there to make learning easier and things like that. But even from a maintenance standpoint, it was hard for me to go in the account and change budgets around and really understand what truly was happening. So earlier this year, we started doing this kind of around October last year to a small extent, but really this year, we went through a massive consolidation where we had a creative testing campaign, which I'll talk about that in a second, how that worked. And then we had basically our BAU core prospecting campaign. This is a broad prospecting campaign that our top creatives would go into. It was a CBO, and then we had ASC. Then we did a little bit of retargeting. In the retargeting, it was mostly PPA ads, like just testing different angles, reviews, offers, things like that. And then win-back, which win-back was actually really huge for us. It crushed. I know this, here and there about people believe win-back's worth it or not, but we ran it. It worked really well for us. What we actually saw, and I'm kind of jumping around here a little bit, was, Ash, I know you mentioned kind of December, right after Black Friday, went into a lull for you. That actually happened to us a few years back. And I can't take full credit for this strategy, but our Facebook rep recommended one thing to us, which totally changed the course of our December in 2022, is instead of basically launching similar creative just with gifting messaging or even launching it in, a copied campaign, basically treat it like you're resetting your whole account. So obviously you'll still keep your winners, you'll still keep everything else. But what we did was we launched a brand new ASC campaign and a brand new, just a BAU core prospecting campaign completely from scratch, all new creative. We didn't copy a single thing over. We literally went in and pressed every button from scratch. And, whether you believe it, whether you don't, what my kind of hypothesis there was, and same as his, is you've hit so many people during Black Friday. And if they haven't really bought during that time period, there's something in that messaging that hasn't resonated with them. And what we wanted to do during gifting is really just change up that messaging. So if you saw any of our ads during that time, we went to the middle of the Mojave Desert. We blew up a Christmas tree. We did something super flashy. It was a fun shoot. And it really, while that creative didn't drive a whole ton on its own, it really boosted what our evergreen creative was doing, interestingly enough, because it was driving a whole new audience segment that didn't resonate during, our best sale of the year. And it gave them a really unique angle. So all of that basically to say is consolidation over everything. Before, at some point, we used to go product-based split, but now we just went, the different steps of the funnel. And then when you're really getting into December, I really would preach the most important part being refresh your creative, refresh your account, give the people something new, because they're honestly tired of seeing the same old thing. You've hit so many people at that scale of spend. The second part at that spend, and I know Steven's talked about it quite a bit in a few podcasts or a few things he's talked about, is creative testing. We tested like madmen over there. We would refresh our creatives every 10 days. And the reason we decided to do 10 days was, one, just based on our creative team's bandwidth, and made sense to refresh creative every 10 days, but it also gave us enough learning on what was happening. So the way our creative testing process kind of worked, and I think this is one of the biggest wins that we had earlier this year, was we had that creative testing campaign. In that campaign, this would be the only campaign that was at an ABO. And the reason behind that was every concept would have its own ad set. And within each concept, there would be a ton of different, really unique variations of that one ad. That way, every ad was getting the same amount of spend. You could understand truly what were the wins, losses from any given ad. How can you improve on it? And within those, leading metric was ROAS, it was CAC, looking at what is driving the most efficiency. But then we could look at some of the engagement metrics. How is the click-through rate? What's the hold rate? What's the hook rate here? How can we improve that for some of these other iterations? And then the winners would go into our core structure, and we would repeat that process every 10 days. We would have a weekly creative meeting where the entire creative team would sit down, the entire market, a lot of the marketing team would sit down. We would brainstorm creative. We would work with the creative strategist who would put together these awesome briefs, and we would just pump out creative like that. I know I jumped all over the place there at you guys, but creative consolidation and just refreshing your account and really giving people unique angles is kind of the TLDR.
How about budget?
So budget was something that was super interesting. In December, kind of like you were mentioning, we were able to go 15% almost day over day, leading into Christmas and even a few days after that. When we would look at budget, a lot of it in intra-channel, I would use something like Triple Whale or just a multi-touch attribution to see which campaigns were driving the most efficiency. And then we would look at that, what was happening in platform, and just kind of correlate the two together and see where that's happening. The harder part, as we all know, is trying to figure it out within different ad platforms. So between Google, between TikTok, Facebook, and even influencer, where's all this coming from? And I know there's a million tools out there, multi-touch attribution, MMM, GA, last touch, however you want to go about it. The way I went about it wasn't super scientific, unfortunately, but it ended up working fairly well for us. Is we would take the multi-touch attribution, we'd take what's happening in platform, and we would take what's happening at a business level and just start to triangulate in on, where are we roughly on efficiency here? If we increase spend 10% here, hold everything else the same, how does efficiency change? And it would just be a constant game of that until we were finding efficiency, and then we'd scale everything and repeat that process.
So you quite literally were just bumping up budgets from, I mean, you guys probably were hitting 6 figures a day during like Black Friday and stuff, right? So is that quite literally just bumping up and making sure you guys are still efficient?
Exactly. I would work really closely with our CFO, and I'd basically say, hey, give me an AMER target. As long as I'm above this, let me keep spending. And usually that's what would happen. With that said, I think Black Friday, a lot of the work that happens during Black Friday and a lot of kind of the efficiency you get is everything that's been built up over the last 3 to 6 months. And it depends on your product, right? Like Cuts, we were a $54 t-shirt. It wasn't a cheap price point shirt, and there was a little bit longer of kind of a consideration period. So all of the traffic we were gathering throughout the year, all the influencer posts, all the organic traffic, all of that was really just dumping out during Black Friday, which really helped my case to be able to spend more and keep that efficiency. But at the same time, obviously, you're running this great offer. It's a great time for people to try the product out. So you are naturally more efficient. But yeah, really, it was give me the AMER target and let us just keep going until we hit it.
How do you guys think about LTV from acquisition during those times? If you guys are just like kind of slamming spend, you have a really solid deal. Like you said, they're expensive shirts, they're high quality for sure.
Yep.
But if you start acquiring a ton of these like discount buyers, how do you guys think about that? I guess the following, months after that.
The primary goal there was really just be first person profitable during Black Friday. And because of that, the LTV, it mattered in the long term, but that was kind of the most important part there. The other side of it is and this is all hats off to our email marketing manager. We did a really good job of educating our customer after and giving them really unique things to come back to, right? We had our weekly kits, we had Friday projects, and I can't take credit for any of these things, but it really brought customers back and kept them intrigued. And even if they were trying something and maybe they didn't like it the first time for some reason, or they were looking for something else, these really unique products that would come after and this general just brand education helped retain them over the long term. And then being first person profitable, even the worst case, everything goes wrong, you made money on that first order.
Robert, what do you think about that? Because I feel like the conversation is kind of shifting, and it's also shifted internally for us, right? I think the biggest thing for us has always been like, we know our LTV numbers, we know what we can afford on an acquisition. Like, even if we are losing a little bit on the first order, it's always been, we'll make it up in LTV, right? Now, when you have those conversations of like, okay, we have Black Friday coming up and we're acquiring discount customers, that LTV is technically like something that you should be worried about, but you won't really know until 6 months later. And these are more mature businesses. But if the conversation is switching towards, all right, you have to be break even or profitable on the first order, does the LTV consideration really matter at that point?
I mean, it's a really great question. I always get squeamish with LTV because nobody can agree on a lifetime. And so I like to use maybe like a year, maybe 2 years, and extrapolate across maybe. I really like almost like a year, because to kind of take a meta digression, I've been playing in the CDP and making these like audiences with the parameters. And I almost think of like returning customers in different cohorts, right? So you have like evangelists, people that purchased 3, 4, 5 times in a year. Then you have kind of these active customers, people that have purchased, within 3 months or something like that, at least a purchase within 3 months. And then you have these inactive customers, which maybe haven't purchased in 6 months. And then anybody that hasn't really purchased in maybe 9 months or more, like I consider those lapsed customers, where I almost treat them almost the same as a new customer. And so with that kind of model in mind, then I would combine kind of looking at the cohorted data of, because what I've seen pretty much every variation of Black Friday customer of like, these people are actually really strong LTV customers, but it literally takes you a whole year to get more money out of them because they just spend literally their annual budget for X every Black Friday, Cyber Monday, because they like the discount. So that's not to say that they're bad customers, but if you have some capital constraints and you need to recoup that value quicker than 12 months, then it's like, okay, that doesn't make sense. I've seen people that you acquire the group honors who are just terrible people that you spent all this money to acquire them and then they never come back. And then you get some people that are, decent customers, but on average. So the way I would look at it is, one, your business constraints, and then two, your cohorts, essentially, and see what kind of your last year's cohorts look like. Because my belief of Black Friday, Cyber Monday, I love it. I mean, it's like God's gift to marketers, but a lot of times you're just pulling revenue forward. Where like these people were going to spend the revenue with you, you're not generating revenue with either net new customers or really great customers. And so that's my only cautionary tale of Black Friday, Cyber Monday is like, don't over index on it, but ensure it's a money grab and make sure it's efficient. And so I think that, and if you do that, then you can back into some LTVs. But I do not think Black Friday, Cyber Monday is like a high target LTV fertile ground where you need to be fine. The other thing is they might be, but they're just all drunk on deals and sales and stuff, and you don't really necessarily want to connect with them at that time in a less meaningful manner.
Makes sense. I think it might be a good transition into Black Friday plans and how you guys are thinking about that. I know, so Tapcart put out a survey, just stats and everything.
Can we give a shout out to my boy getting on the green screen? It was great. You nailed it.
The green screen thing.
Cap cut. Hello, look at I gotta step it up. It's a great. It was great.
I know. It was cool. It's
a great video.
First time doing that. But so some of the stats were actually really interesting. So this year compared to last year, 67% of consumers are like really excited about Black Friday sales versus 72% last year.
Okay.
Not a crazy difference.
So decrease, but yeah.
Decrease, right?
Okay.
So when I think about that, it's like I feel our strategy is going to shift a little bit this year, and it's mainly because of business constraints, meaning that like, hey, we just produce a fuck ton of inventory for Walmart. We have to be very conscious about how much we actually have for D2C and like how much we can allocate towards so our biggest thing at Avi is like every year we do like free gifts, right? So earn up to 4 free gifts, you know, the shaker cups, the tote bags, the this and that, whatever. Again, like just capital constraint, we can't do all those flashy things right now. So the way that I'm thinking about Black Friday is like, we used to do a whole month-long thing. We're actually considering just launching that week of, instead of like trying to, like you said, pull revenue forward. So in order for us to do that, I think it's going to be like a very simple sale, very like come out with like a really high quality gift. So one of those things, I don't know if you guys have seen Athletic Greens, right? They have their shaker or their cup, whatever. We want to do something very similar, like high quality. When you get it, you feel it, you know? I think for us, it's one of those things where like, let's just do something, because also another stat that Tapcart put out was a good amount of people's budgets that they have allocated is anywhere from $100 to $500, right? And so I would imagine that it's probably leaning or skewing towards the lower end. Mm-hmm. So I want to be conscious of like offering these complex deals and just be like, hey, straight discount, here's a free gift. Let me take up some of that budget that you have set aside and just like nail that. So that's just how I'm thinking about it this year. Curious what you guys' thoughts are on that.
Avi, I want to hear from you, but I candidly love the approach, man. Like I said, I don't, there's a time to be exotic and fun, and really that's in the summer when you really have to figure out how to make things work. And then there's a time to just get your butterfly net out and catch dollar bills, and knowing when to do what is really important. And again, it obviously is a function of what stage of business you're at, what your goals are, et cetera, et cetera. But in terms of what I know of what your goals are and where Avi's at and where you want to go, I think it's a brilliant way to think of strategy. Avi, I want to hear your take, and then I want to hear how you guys at Italic are kind of thinking of acquisition, because you have a little heavier of a vector of gifting than Ash does at Avi. So the stage is yours.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more on the simple offer thing. And this is something that we've gone back and forth about a little bit, is because of how our business is set up, right? Like we give you super high quality goods at almost supplier price point. So it's always been like, do we want to do discount? Do we want to like do it as a gift? There's a lot of different ways to go about it. But I think Black Friday is the one time a year, no matter what brand you are, unless you're Louis Vuitton, you go on sale, you make a very simple sale, and you make it as easy for consumers to buy as possible. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying about at Cuts last year. Like, this is a time where people are trying your brand if you're acquiring them for the first time, or two, you're pulling revenue forward from returning customers. But right now at Italic, our primary goal is like, let's go acquire as many new customers as possible. Let's make sure we're ready and set up for December gifting season. A lot of times, actually, from what I've seen, and granted and candidly, I'm still new at Italic, but December has almost been as big, if not bigger, for us than what we've done during Black Friday. And getting a lot of those customers kind of excited about just Italic high quality products in November and giving them a really great reason to buy helps them come back during December and give us a really strong, powerful gifting time of year. So what we're going to focus on this year is, one, really simple, really enticing offer. There's some inventory things there, but also two, what are kind of those products that we want to make acquisition products during those times to then create really long-term, high-quality customers, but especially for gifting. And so we're pulling data internally in terms of what is the first purchase product that we've seen that brings back customers the most, whether it's for gifting or even for themselves, but especially in December, and try to acquire customers off of those.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love the idea of using different products for different stages of the funnel, because I couldn't agree with you more. There's it's so important, not only on the first touch to have a really great experience, but to your point, they can also be gateway products that open themselves up to different pathways of consumption, which is huge. And being cognizant of that, super important. I don't think all products are built for paid media, and so having that is a really astute observation. I love that. Melwani,
How are you guys? Are you guys thinking about creative? Right, like, are you guys working on creative in advance? Like, do you guys have like, okay, I need X amount to deploy? How are you guys thinking about that?
Yeah, so it's interesting that you brought up that you're running your sale for 1 week. We're gonna probably run ours for 2, and the reason behind that is so we can get that learning on creative. How I've always gone about creative: one, the creative itself should be as simple as possible. As a best case, put your offer as big as you possibly can on a screen and run it as an ad. I promise you it'll probably be your best performing ad during Black Friday. It'll be better than anything highly produced. But two, how we kind of think about creative, how I like to think about creative during this time, is in flights. And I usually will there'll be kind of a week 1 flight. If you're spending a ton of money, maybe you do this in 3-day increments. We're probably going to do it in 5 to 7, where it's our kind of like our best bullets, right? Like the very simple ads. We're going to try a whole bunch of things, ton of diversification there, but it'll be very simple ads nonetheless. And then the next week, when we really get into that week of Black Friday, we have all the learnings from the first week, and we're rapidly just making ads to redeploy that are taking all the winnings from that first week. So it's a combination of kind of those two things, and it puts a lot of pressure on our creative team the week of, and especially that weekend in between, to pump out creatives. But I think it's such an important time that if you can optimize those early learnings, you can have a massive actual Black Friday week. The other thing we'll do is, for Black Friday day itself, for Cyber Monday day itself, we'll have a special offer go out, and we'll usually run special creative for that on top of what we're going to be running for the rest of the week.
I know you guys have some high SKU counts over there. How do you think of like DPA in terms of like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and just in general? Because I don't know if it's true or not. Dan over at Marpipe says it's not, that you don't need a big catalog, but how do you think of handling all your SKUs, and like, how do you guys approach dynamic product ads?
So we used to split it out by product category, and
okay.
Like I was saying, for Cuts like a year and a half ago, it honestly just becomes too complicated. It becomes too fragmented, and I have a lot of faith in the Facebook algorithm. Whenever I tell people about how performance marketing works, I say I'm going to talk about Facebook like it's a god. It's not a god, but it's basically like a god. And it knows who to give what type of product to. And that's why we primarily will use DPA and retargeting right now, because it's really good at matching back to those people. So we'll keep it as broad as possible. The thing we will test for DPA is we'll test different copy. We'll test different overlays on ads like that. So like right now, I think we're testing 2 or 3 different types of copy variations. One, which is a user review copy, one which is like our free shipping offer, and then one which is like our welcome offer. Just so, and this is all in a CPO, just to give the algorithm, options in terms of what it thinks people will resonate with. But in terms of our SKU count, and it's certainly been a very big change going from, just the men's and a little bit of women's apparel to all of these different lines. We keep everything fairly into one.
I love it. Are you guys on the DPA train, Ash? You guys are pretty anti-DPA, right?
I really want to. I think the biggest thing is like our catalog just keeps getting rejected for like supplements and stuff. So like,
oh, that's right.
It's just
that's right.
one of
That's
those
right.
things.
Oh,
yeah,
it's right. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. No, it's a great call. No, it's
I
a
would
great
love
call.
to.
Yeah.
Like I've talked to Dan about it, and I'm like, I need to get up and running, but we just can't.
No, I've ran some supplement ones, and the DPAs are weird, or they'll only let like the tier 2, tier 3 products on. You're like, dude, I don't want to run ads to those. Like, stop it. That's not what I need. Facebook, no, I'm totally tracking there. Milwani, let's wrap up on some cost cap updates. Are you still? You know how many messages I got because of that from you? So you owe me a dinner or something, but so many people are interested. Like, what's he doing? What's going on? Blah 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 blah. I should do that for my business. So I thought that one. I forgot what tweet it was, but I thought it was really great. Of like, this isn't necessarily like stock investment advice. This is what you're doing from your perspective, and I think you do a really good job of kind of like saying, hey, one of the best pieces of advice on media buying I've ever heard is do what the ad account likes. Like ad accounts are like relationships. Have the one that makes you the most money or the happiest. Don't worry about if somebody has this type of relationship configuration. Like, and candidly, like, while I'm on my soapbox, I'll use my time on here. I think that's my work from home take as well, where it's like, I think there's some places like personally, I enjoy in-person stuff, but I think there's people that do it great remotely as well. So, I mean, I think just having a clear stance on that. I don't think there's a right or wrong there. But anyways, back to the subject at hand.
Yeah, the tweet I think you're mentioning was more of like a preface to what I'm going to put out, whether it's in the newsletter or a thread on Twitter. But there was certain things that happened in the business that led to that decision, right?
Got it.
And I've talked about it. I'm not going to go over it again, but briefly, it was whitelisting through influencers who were very big, and COVID, right? And so I needed to get away from this audience that we were targeting, and that was the move for a new ad account, new Facebook page, new pixel, everything, right? The second thing was my business right now needs to be extremely efficient and profitable, and that's why I leaned into cost caps, right? So basically, the account will spend when it feels like it can, and it won't when it feels like it can't, right? So some updates on it, week over week, which is really interesting. I have like just a week over week performance. Our contribution margin per customer is increasing week over week, and so I'm seeing efficiency growing. Ad spend is maintaining, if not growing as well, as we start getting out of this summer slump, right? And so that's what I anticipated happening, is that summer being this like, slow lull period for some brands. As we get back into school, September, I would imagine the shopping is going to start to increase, and we're seeing that trend in our spend, right? So for example, last week, one of our best weeks in since we've done this is on Monday. Quite like literally, we spent $5K in ad spend, right? On Sunday, I spent $25K, and it was efficient. So what I'm saying is that it's gonna have these like days where like you're like that Monday we were super, super efficient. It was like a 5K spend at like a 2x new customer ROAS. My break even is a 1.4. But then Sunday comes around and I'm spending 25K and my break even is a 1.4. I'm slamming 25K at a 1.6 all day, right? So I'm slightly profitable, but I'm acquiring the volume that I missed in the week. So I'm seeing these like nuances happening where people are like, oh, like volume's like a factor here. It's like you'll make it up when it needs to. And so that's where I'm trying to like just see how these things go. And I'm learning what the ad account likes. For example, like if I come off on a Sunday doing really well, if I leave the bids where they are on a Monday, Monday's crap. So I need to bring down bids before Monday starts, and then it starts picking up on Wednesday. So Wednesday halfway through the day, I'll bring bids back up for the weekend. So those are the things that I'm learning how the ad account is reacting, and like those are the things that's going to take time. But once you start leaning into those things, like I feel like you can, if again your business needs this, then it's something to maybe consider. But if you're focused on volume, you have really good recurring revenue, you have the money to allocate towards like pushing volume at maybe break even. Like I need to make a profit on every order right now. That's my goal, right? And so depends on what the business needs, and that I like the strategy, and like I said, like it feels different, it feels fresh, and I'm enjoying doing it. So that's the update on the cost cap situation.
Adspend Melwani, the cost cap crusader, not the hero we needed, but the hero we deserve. Unbelievable, this guy. I love it. Avi, what are your takes on cost controls? Are you into... before I jump to you, Avi, Ash, somebody was asking, do you think you will ever implement a bid cap strategy?
Yeah, so the bid cap strategy, I think, is if you like really want to be efficient, right?
Yeah.
Like it won't spend unless it hits this, like there's a cap, right?
Yep.
I think with cost cap, you have that flexibility of being around where you need to be. And if we didn't have recurring revenue, I'd probably do big cap. But because we have recurring revenue, I can be okay with like certain days being like, So I'd probably stick with cost cap.
I love it. Great answer. Avi, thoughts on cost controls, thoughts on Ash, his just nuke
rip
and
me to
run,
shreds.
and then
Just rip me to shreds.
Exactly. Give me the real.
I was surprised. I was surprised when you went to cost caps, if I'm being honest. I've tested cost caps, never been a huge fan, but like Ash said, I think it's totally business dependent, right? For us at Italic, we tested cost caps when I first started. Wasn't giving us really anything at all. But because we have such good recurring revenue, we have our membership program, which is, I would put it up against any membership program out there, is probably the strongest membership program. We're able, like, if we're break even, or even if we're at a slight loss on acquiring a customer on first order, we're totally fine with that. And we're in a mode right now where we're just trying to acquire as quickly as possible, as many as possible. And, obviously I'm not, going and getting $200 CACs ever. But with our efficiency where we're at, we're basically break even, if not better. And the LTV that we get from our members and just our returning orders in general, cost caps haven't been something that we've needed to remain efficient. With that said, I think like January, February, some of those really slow times for us as a business when we've kind of maxed out during November and December, it's something that I might test again just to keep efficiency during that time and then maybe switch it back. But I've been fairly averse to cost caps. The other reason being, in my eyes, I think you have to have a strong trust in the Facebook attribution system and it understanding like, hey, this is efficient, but is it really efficient at a business level? And so far, every time I've tested it, it hasn't correlated well to it being efficient at a business level. And at the end of the day, I don't really care what Facebook is saying in terms of attribution. Like I was saying earlier, like I try and triangulate on what's truly happening. So I don't trust Facebook to spend whatever amount of money it thinks is efficient, because I don't think it matches up with what's happening at a business level. And at Cuts, we did some inquiry into this, and we're going to continue to do it here at Italic to figure out how it's matching up with what's happening in platform. So far, I haven't been a huge fan because of those reasons.
Avi, you said no trust and no trust. Where'd my deep faith? Where'd the worship and the algorithm go? That was a quick turn, brother. That was fast.
I'll clarify myself a little bit. I have a lot of trust in Facebook putting creative in front of the right people, putting the right messaging in front of the right people. I don't have faith in what it's reporting back to me in terms of efficiency there. That's why I don't think GA Last Touch is a great source of it. I don't think even Google Ads in platform is a great source of it. That's why I like using a multi-touch attribution, because it'll give me something unbiasedly. But unfortunately, what's happening in a multi-touch attribution, or what's happening in a business level, isn't what Facebook is reading in its algorithm. So because of that, I don't trust its efficiency, but I trust to my grave who it's delivering my creative to.
I feel like that part you kind of have to. But one point there, when you guys are, I completely agree with you in terms of like the attribution. However, when we did move to 1 day click only, so 0 view or anything like that, some of the it does match up, and even so, Facebook underreporting. So like if Facebook for us says, for example, a 1.1 or 1.2 ROAS on platform, on like Triple Whale, my blended is anywhere, it's like 30 to 40% above that. So like probably like a 1.5, 1.6, right? So I know, like, I've just measured this, and like I've tried to like find a correlation between the two, and yeah, it's very difficult because like even if you have the delayed, even if you have like an ad that rips, right, the next day the attribution, the delayed attribution could make that CPA look even better just because you have a ton of like data coming in after the fact. But yeah, on a blended level, like on like a 7-day window, things look a lot better than like on a day-to-day, and that's where I've had to like really analyze things on a 7-day window. It's just, and to your point, like it's just one of those things where you just have to like either trust it or you don't. And then just measuring whether it's like literally on a Google sheet, just putting in weekly data, and then Triple Whale too. So I fully agree.
Enough of this blasphemy. Trust the algorithm, folks. No, here's a hypothetical for y'all. Like, Melwana, you guys have subscriptions. Avi, you guys have memberships. Any thoughts on running campaigns around those with either bid caps or cost cap controlled there? Because if it hits, it's a really high LTV product, and if it doesn't, it just doesn't spend out. Would that be something on your radar as you expand the? It is a little bit of a no-no because you are making your marketing, or you're in ads manager, you're making a little bit of more complexity there. But it seems like a match made in heaven, right? Like if you can spend at X, like if the old adage of like, oh, if I can get people at X to spend Y, I'll buy them all day. And you literally can do that now.
Avi, if you want to go first, I have some thoughts on that.
Yeah. I don't hate that idea. It's something we've actually tested in our win-back campaign, which I brought it over to Italic, and that is running on a cost cap, actually, funny enough. That's the only one for that reason. I'm exposing
all these things in the Avi, you're killing us over here.
It's the only one I'll run on a cost cap, and the reason for that is that exact reason. We run membership ads there, and it's because it's super predictable. I will never run cost caps on prospecting until I change my mind when I test it in January.
We'll have to revisit that. But I like it. I think it's a great idea, Rob. I'm thinking of trying it for when we launch Power Rangers, because I think we'll lead out with subscriptions. Because once you get something for your dog on subscription, you're like, the chances of you leaving are like very slim, right?
Super
like I have
slim.
a dog, I have food. There's a company called Spontango.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, exactly.
It needs to be almost like that monthly cadence, but perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So like food, right? Dog food, like I'm doing 2 scoops a day. This thing will deliver on the exact day that I need it if I'm like serving correctly. And I haven't canceled this thing in like 3 years. So like, and I don't think I will, because she likes it. No problems. Like, vet says she's good. I'm not going to switch it up. Now, when it comes to like maybe supplements, especially something like a joint support, that's something where it's like, as they get older, they're going to need it. So it's like, just keep giving it to them, right? Like when you give them their food or whatever it is. So for me, I think we can probably lean into cost caps, especially when we first start. Like, we're going to start this business with like, obviously an investment, there's going to be cash in the bank, but like, I need to be extremely efficient launching a new brand, right? Especially if we're doing paid. Do influencer, get organic up and running and get some traction. But on paid, I'm probably going to start with cost cap and let, I guess, maybe go a little bit more aggressive on the cap, thinking that subscriptions will be recurring and have that high LTV. So I really like it. There's another brand. You guys know Jack Rubin, the Purdy and Fig?
Yeah, him and his brother. They're G's. Great humans.
So they're all in on cost cap. Their products are all subscription, and so the way that they think about their model is exactly this. It's like, I know my subscription numbers. I know I can afford up to X amount of CAC. Let that just be the cap on my advertising and just let it rip. So I love that strategy and model.
Plus 10 points for a Purdy and Fig call out. Well done, Ash. Well done. Avi, this has been a blast, man. How can people get a hold of you, get in contact with you? What should they buy on Italic? This time's yours, my friend.
I'll start with the Italic call out. Check out some of our home stuff. It's ripping, it's fun, it's really, really comfortable. I just moved into a new apartment. I had to deck everything out. I'm not super active on Twitter. I think I'll have to start being active on Twitter after this. Search my name, Avi Arora. Same on LinkedIn, Instagram, avi.arora_. But dude, it was so much fun talking to you guys. Ash, I'm excited to hear how this cost cap thing keeps going. Maybe I'll change my mind next year.
I love it. I'm gonna keep everybody updated.
Man, with Vitamin Shop in the rear view, I need a new shtick. I feel a little bit RIP'd, but we'll get to your nearest Walmart, go buy all the Avi, just grab it all up and just start smashing it in there no, don't do that, but definitely go get you that Avi. Ash,
go
how
get
can
it. I'm reimbursing people, so if you want to go send me the receipt, I'll reimburse you. But yeah, if you wanna connect with me on Twitter at Ashvin Melwani, chew on this. Another
Feed's
podcast
been fire lately. Went micro viral, and not even micro, like proper viral with Hermosi.
Yeah.
I bought his book. I'm on the fence on Hermosi. I think he's brilliant, but I also think it's like I don't want to say regurgitate. Okay, yeah, give it to me.
I'll say one thing, right? Because there was I didn't get a lot of hate, but there was some comments. Shaq, he was saying how it was regurgitated, and it was just one of those things where it's like, this is just known. It is what it is. The point here is that the reason I wrote the thread is because there's a lot of new marketers coming into the ecosystem that are coming onto Twitter. It's it's still a topic. One, it's trending. Let me get ahead of it. Two, it's informative for the newbies, and I want to be in front of those people. So that's what I'm here for. Yeah, and it is what it is. But I agree, Rob. It wasn't anything new, but worth talking about. So
Paticus endorsed it, dude. Patrick Campbell, formerly of Paddle, acquired by Paddle. He's one of my human muses. He's just a blue flame thinker. He endorsed it, so I was like, man, I need to get it. But I don't have super high hopes. I think that I think fundamental marketing is kind of in the same vein of self-help. Once you find the one or two self-help books that really resonate with you and give you some frameworks to move forward, then go and act change. Versus I put it a different way. I don't think he's going to give me new ways of looking at marketing, but I think he'll reinforce a lot of things that I needed to hear again, where it's the old Marcus Aurelius. Oftentimes you don't need to be informed, but rather reminded. And so, yeah, I'm excited about it. Give
fundamentals are important.
They're everything, candidly, dude. Yeah. And even the people that are these crazy outliers still have a really strong core of fundamentals. The other thing is when you know the rules, it's kind of easier to break them as well. So that's kind of the joke about getting an MBA. All right, folks. Speaking of jokes, I got to go to the mothership. I did Rogan's Comedy Club last week. It was awesome. It was really cool.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a bunch of killers on a random Wednesday night. It was really cool. Melwani, did you already you plugged your mentor pass? Chew on This is crushing it. Harley's coming up, right?
Yep. And last episode, season finale.
Season finale.
The last 3 episodes are pretty big.
Wow.
So stay tuned. Subscribe, like, comment, whatever you got to do.
Amazing. Are you going to Sendlane conference?
I'm not. I am heading over the other way, heading to London, see some family.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yes. But there's another conference that Avora is hosting in October. I will be attending that, South Carolina.
Where?
So, Charleston,
South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Oh, Charleston's chill, actually. Charleston's, I've heard it's a cool city. All right, folks, if you want to get more involved with Triple Whale, we are at triplewhale.com. We actually just launched our new Founders Dash. It's sensational. It's the artist formerly known as the summary page. You get 12-month look back, and it's all forever free. So no excuses. Go sign up. Go use the same dashboard that my beautiful Ashvin Melwani uses, and 6,000 plus other stores. What else we got? We got Whale Mail, fantastic newsletter. It goes out every Tuesday, Thursday. Sign up right at triplewhale.com/whalemail. And then any comments, reviews, anything like that you can leave. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Speaking of the YouTube channel, if you do want to see how epic Ash is, Geek Out Hoodie is. They used to do good gear, man. They used to do some pretty strong gear. To be fair, you're pretty. I still have my Whaley's hoodie from you. It's so good. You guys can do some fun gear. You can see all the podcasts on YouTube if video is your preferred format. Thanks again. That is another episode of Adspend in the books. Ash, Avi, I really appreciate you guys and the time, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.